In 2025, Morozov almost defeated Vitali to retain his #1 left arm ranking in the world. In 2026, he defeated Ermes Gasparini to become the top 3 arm wrestler in the world on the right arm. But the Terminator simply cannot catch a break from injuries and surgeries. He still wasn't fully recovered from the left elbow surgery and also the right wrist surgery. And there we have it, he just had a couple of more surgeries. Hi everyone, I'm Artyom Morozov, an arm wrestler. I came to Professor Muradov to remove gynecomastia and fix my umbilical hernia. I had been planning this for a while but kept putting it off because of other surgeries. I'm hoping that afterwards my stomach won't bother me anymore in sports or in daily life, and that in 6 months I'll be back to training at full strength. And honestly, I'm ready to stop getting comments about my chest. Morozov looks in the best possible shape in all of the photos and videos that he posts. But yes, it is true he was getting comments about gynecomastia pretty often, and now he decided to get rid of that problem. I think it's good for him that he chose this time for his surgeries because he wasn't planning on competing anytime soon anyways. So this overlapping of rest period, it can be helpful for him. But 6 months still seem like a lot of time. Is he saying that he will be ready to compete in 6 months, or he will be ready to lift heavy weights in 6 months? I think it is the later. Morozov also uploaded a video where he discussed all of his injuries in detail, especially addressing the wrist injury which people believe is happening because of his steroid abuse. But that isn't the case. So after winning his match against Ermes, Morozov said that he was really happy with the performance, but still not completely satisfied because he later learned that Ermes had also suffered an injury about a month before the match, so he wasn't in the best possible shape. Initially, he assumed that Ermes was underestimating him by competing while injured, but later he realized that Ermes believed that he could still win despite the injury. So yes, he was underestimating Morozov. So Morozov pointed out that he also competed with physical problems. So both athletes were dealing with injuries. It simply wasn't like it's just Ermes that was injured and Morozov was completely healthy. Morozov talked about having a torn TFCC, which we have already discussed on the channel. His elbow, it had some chronic inflammation and some nerve-related issues and pain. About a couple of weeks before the match, he got sick and he had to take antibiotics, and he unexpectedly lost about 8 kilos. This is something that nobody has talked about yet. So ironically, the weight loss helped reduce the inflammation around his ulnar nerve, and that's how he got to train in a better way. So it wasn't that bad for Morozov. In order to prepare for the Gasparini match, Morozov took some diet injections in his elbow joints. He applied ice on his elbows 2-3 times a day for 15 minutes for multiple days to reduce the inflammation. He had to modify his training style and come up with some new exercises so that not to aggravate the pain even more. And he believes that these exercises really helped him defeat Ermes, but he plans to keep these exercises secret until he has tested them on more opponents. Morozov hopes to have a rematch against Ermes when both are fully recovered. Then he responded to the criticism about PDs and PDs resulting in him getting injured on the table. Morozov said that these accusations are predictable, but they are completely untrue. They are uninformed, and people who are saying those sort of things are sheeps or lambs. He explained how the problems actually began in his childhood when he was just in 5th grade. They have nothing to do with the performance-enhancing drugs. When in 5th grade, he was running backwards in a gym class. He fell down, fractured his wrist, and injured the cartilage. It healed at that time, but then he continued doing some boxing and playing basketball, so it never fully healed. He started arm wrestling when he was about 15 or 16 years old, and even at that time, his wrist was unstable and frequently popping out of the joint when he arm wrestled on the table. He kept strengthening it, it improved, but once again, when he was about 18 years old, during an arm wrestling competition, his wrist popped out again. He never sought any kind of medical treatment, but instead he trained through it. Over the years, he occasionally felt some instability during his wrist, doing some eccentric wrist exercises. And even last year, during a warm-up session with Alexei Batalov, the wrist dislocated once again. The doctors found out that the long-standing joint instability that eventually tore the tissue holding one of the wrist tendons in place. He later underwent wrist surgery, as we've already discussed on the channel. It was to repair this problem. Morozov said that he also got injured in the third round against Ermes. When he was winning against Ermes and he got to know that Ermes may be injured, he didn't attack aggressively. Instead, he tried to play the defensive game. Ermes gained advantage early in that round and Morozov was put in an awkward defensive position. During that round, Morozov felt his elbow crack, and that crack was followed by another crack, but this time in his wrist, the wrist that already underwent surgery. So as of now, Morozov is taking some BPC 157, TB 500 and another thing called Mozo. So these are the peptides that he has been taking for recovery, and they have helped his recovery after surgery. It supported healing his tendons and ligaments, and he's also building some quality muscle. So now Morozov will be recovering from his hernia surgery. He underwent that surgery because even basic exercises like pull-ups were being painful for him and he couldn't do it anymore. He has already been offered about 3 super matches, but we know for a fact that he won't be competing this year, and none of those 3 opponents are either Levan or Devon Larratt. Ermes Gasparini is also really happy with his progression, the way he has been recovering from the injury that he had during the match and even before the match. Now he's able to lift heavier weights, his elbow pain is reduced, he's deliberately avoiding those exercises that put excessive pressure, excessive stress on the injured area, especially the side pressure exercises. He's avoiding heavy lifting in those exercises. But for now, he can perform some pronation with back pressure, some rising, cupping exercises, supination exercises. He's also started doing side pressure exercises, but mainly involving a lot of chest power and also a lot of bicep and arm power, not just putting too much pressure on the elbow. He has started doing some internal and external shoulder rotation with lightweight like 15 kilos. So looks like we can expect Ermes to return to the table in competition shape by early next year. That's just my guess. On 18th and 19th of July, Ermes will be in Romania. There will be a Rebellion Strength Festival and Ermes will be a guest there. So he will be meeting the fans, taking some pictures, giving some autographs, answering some questions, maybe getting on the table with the left arm but not with the right arm, and maybe also refereeing some matches, commentating some matches, and giving some informal seminars on topics related to arm wrestling.
It was just me alone in the gym, me alone in the mirror. It was just me alone in the gym, me alone in the mirror. It was just me.
Recently, Smaev posted a video of him pronating 70 kilos for 10 reps. Yes, he's not actively lifting that weight using his bicep, but it's not a bicep curl exercise, it's a pronation exercise. And he's actually actively letting his wrist getting turned over and then bringing it back. Doing it with 70 kilos and that too for 10 reps is really impressive.